to be with you all and lovely to see a packed church. I want to ask you to put your hand up if you have had an Easter egg this morning. Well, quite a few. Not as many as I had thought. What type of Easter egg have you had this morning? Can you shout somebody out? What type of Easter egg have you had? What's been mini eggs? What's been inside your Easter eggs? Fritos, chocolates, buttons, chocolate puns, great. Dairy-free, wow. More chocolate. You know, there are so many different Easter eggs to choose from, aren't there, these days? My children have had an Easter egg in the shape of a carrot this morning. Don't quite understand that one. But there are so many different Easter eggs to choose from, and so many different things we can find inside. And, you know, I brought one of my favourite Easter eggs along this morning, which is a Kinder Surprise. And you know, I love Kinder Surprises because it's a surprise to see what's inside, isn't it? So I wonder whether there's anyone who would like to come and open my Kinder Surprise for me. Owen, you come on. Because you're here today, aren't you? Right, could you open up my Kinder Surprise and just tell everybody what is inside it? Nothing. Oh, it's empty, isn't it? It's a Kinder Surprise which is empty. That's the surprise. Are you a bit disappointed? Are you a bit sad? I'll tell you what, have that anyway, and you can munch it through the rest of the service. Share it out. You see, the news that it's empty is normally really bad news, isn't it? It's normally really sad news that actually we are really disappointed about. But you know, the surprise on Easter morning was actually that it's empty was amazing news. It was brilliant news. It was fantastic news. It was news that changed the whole course of history. And you know, there were a few things on Easter morning which were empty. And I want us to think about what was empty on Easter morning. You see, up on a hill, just outside Jerusalem, there was something which was empty, wasn't there? It was this thing, the empty cross. And you know, the cross, well, why was that such good news that the cross was empty on Easter morning? Well, you know, the Bible tells us that actually, and if you're anything like me, that actually we don't always get everything right, do we? Actually, sometimes we can do things which actually upset God and upset other people. We can have things in our hearts which actually mean we don't like other people sometimes. We can hurt others. We can perhaps be greedy. We can perhaps sometimes even in different ways steal. Perhaps actually we see a world which is full of violence. We can perhaps sometimes be angry. We can be selfish. And we see a week, this week even, where there's been murders and terrorism attacks and all sorts. And, you know, the news about the cross and what the Bible says that happened on the cross is that actually Jesus took all the bad things we do, all those things which actually separate us from God, all those things which hurt other people, which make God sad, all those things broken in the world. And actually Jesus took all those things on him, on the cross. And he there paid that price, paid that punishment for those things that we deserve. But you know, the amazing news about the fact that the cross is empty is that, you know, the cross being empty means that actually all of this stuff, all of these things which we may be ashamed of, that separate us from God, all those things are dealt with. They're gone. They've been dealt with by Jesus, and that means that actually the empty cross shows that our past can be forgiven. That actually all those things which we maybe feel guilty about or ashamed of, all those things are dealt with by Jesus there on the cross. You see, the empty cross tells us that our past has been forgiven. There's something else which was empty. Can anyone else tell me something which was empty that morning? Yeah. The tomb was empty, isn't it? Now, can someone come collect the gravestone for me? It's not very heavy, this one. You know. Do you want to go and get it? Yeah, you want to go and get the gravestone? You see, the tomb was empty too, and that was amazing news as well, because it means that grab the gravestone and just bring it over here and be back in. It means that death is defeated. It means that actually death is not the end, but you know, the empty tomb shows that we have amazing hope for the future. That actually death is not the end, but that actually God is going to put everything right one day. And there's a lovely passage at the end of right at the end of the Bible in Revelation 21, which talks about the fact that actually one day God's going to make there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth, which actually, if we are followers of Jesus, we can go and be part of. And in that new heaven and the new earth, there's going to be no more crying, and no more death, and no more mourning, and no more pain, and no more suffering. That everything is going to be made new and made right again. And that's the amazing thing that the empty tomb proclaims, that actually Jesus has conquered death. I wonder whether you here this morning, or actually here this morning, are actually feeling more that you're living in a Good Friday world, where things are tough, where things are difficult for you, than perhaps an Easter Sunday morning world. Maybe actually you have health worries. Maybe actually you are struggling with depression or bereavement or loneliness, or there are issues at work or in your family or relationships. And actually stuff is really tough at the moment. You know, the amazing news that actually the empty tomb proclaims is that actually one day everything is going to be put right. One day God is actually going to make everything anew. As we watch the events unfold throughout Europe this week, we can look at that and think, where's God? But the amazing news is that actually God is at work, and one day everything will be restored. The amazing promise of Easter is that we are Easter people, and that Sunday's coming, the promise of hope that one day it's all going to be put right. So that's the empty tomb. Now there was something else. Actually, I want to tell you, we talk about the empty tomb, but you know, the tomb wasn't quite empty, was it? There was no body in there, but there was something else in there. Is there someone who might pop to the tomb and just go and collect for me? One of you boys go and pop to the tomb and just go and collect for me. What's in your tomb? Because there is something. Pop to the tomb. There is something in the tomb. There's something in there. You see what was in the tomb? The grave clothes. The empty grave clothes. You see, empty grave clothes were there proclaiming that actually Jesus' body wasn't there anymore because Jesus was alive. And you know, those disciples and Mary that morning, actually, when they went there, their first reaction was, someone must have stolen the body. But you know, the empty grave clothes prove, I think, that actually the body wasn't stolen. Because if you'd gone and stolen the body, what would you have taken with you? The grave clothes. And what you certainly wouldn't have done is actually spent time to take them off and roll them up and fold them up neatly, as the Bible says. Did you notice that? You see, that story, that little bit of news from John, who was there at the tomb, shows us that actually it wasn't that the body was stolen that day, but that actually Jesus was alive. And you know, the fact that Jesus is alive means that actually our present life can be transformed. You know, Mary that morning met the risen Jesus, didn't she? When she saw Jesus, actually she was distraught, she was upset, she was confused, her world had fallen in. But then she met Jesus and her world was turned upside down. She found joy, she found new life, she found release, and she found completely a new way of freedom. And yeah, that's what Jesus can bring. That the risen Jesus is here today, and we believe that he can bring us a transformation in the present. You know, one of the joys of my job is that I actually get to meet lots of people who actually have come to know the risen Jesus and whose lives have been transformed by it. You know, I heard last year, I heard a guy who'd been the most wanted prisoner in the whole of the UK. A guy who'd done some awful things in our prisons. And he stood up and he told about how he had met the risen Jesus. He'd come to know the risen Jesus by being Alpha in the highest security prison in the country. His life had been utterly transformed. I think of another guy at my old church, actually, who was a guy who talked about how angry he was and how he just was a bit of a lout, and his marriage was all over the place, and he was just utterly in pieces. He didn't know anything about love, and he said that actually people started praying for me, that I would come to meet the risen Jesus. And one morning, actually, his wife was actually praying for him. She didn't know what she was praying for, but she prayed that he would know something of the love of God and meet Jesus in that. And right there and then, he told me about how actually he experienced some amazing love, the amazing love of God, how actually that anger in his heart disappeared, how his marriage was put back together again, how he realised that he was a very precious and loved child of God. You know, that's what happens when we meet the risen Jesus. Our lives can be transformed. Jesus is alive. We can know him now by his Spirit. He can transform lives in the present. And so, you know, this is why the news that is empty is such amazing news at Easter. That we can have our past forgiven. That we can have amazing hope in the future. And that our lives can be transformed in the present. You know, maybe there are people here today, actually, who come and you know your lives are empty. You know there's an emptiness in your life, and actually you know that there's something missing. You know, I want to encourage you this Easter day to actually think about this amazing news of Easter, and to read again of the amazing news of Jesus, and to look and think, maybe actually this is true. Because if it's true, then it transforms lives. In a few weeks' time, we're going to do something called the Start Course, which is a course for people to just find out a little bit more and explore what it means to be a Christian. We would love to invite you to come along to that starting 26th of April. Come and grab one of these from me or at the desk at the back after you finish. I would love to give you Mark's Gospel and another little booklet which talks more about what Jesus can do, what the good news of Jesus and what that might mean. I'd love to talk to you at the end if that's okay. So do come and see me if you want to know more about these things. But maybe actually too, you are someone who's been a Christian for a while. Maybe actually you've been through loads and loads of Easters. And actually I want to say again, pray this Easter that this amazing message of it's empty will actually transform you once again. And that you, just like Jesus told Mary Magdalene when she met him and ran from the tomb, Jesus says, go and tell of this amazing news that Jesus is alive and that Jesus' death transforms us and has transformed this world. Let's pray. Lord, thank